All right, so my virtual learners can pause the video here and go over your answers for lesson 4-3 worksheet. Any questions you guys would like me to go over? All right, so for number 5, it just tells us to write two fractions that are equivalent to 7/16. So what we want to do is pick a number to multiply 7 and 16 by. What number do you want to pick? You did times 2, that's perfect. Times 2 is good. And so did you get 14 over 32? Yeah? Then you're good. You did it right then. Then you just have to do that twice. Any other questions? You guys felt okay about 4-3? Oh yes, please, if you borrowed a pencil from me for that assessment, please put it back in the pink bin. And other than that, I want you to flip to our front cover sheet. And lesson 4-3 was all about fractions. So I want you to self-reflect. How do you feel about fractions? Your front cover sheet, please. And you're self-reflecting on fractions. How did you feel about fractions? So for these kind of multiples, the smallest multiple that 2 or more numbers go into, multiples are actually going to end up getting bigger. So we want to find the least common multiple of 3 and 4. So go ahead and write 3 and 4 for me, please. And when you guys were in elementary school and you were introduced to multiples, what you guys did was you started listing the multiples of 3, which would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and then I'm just going to write ... because we could keep listing those multiples forever and forever, right? So those are the multiples of 3. Now let's go ahead and write the multiples of 4. So that would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. And I'm going to draw some dots because that's going to keep going on forever. For least common multiple, we want to pick the smallest multiple that's in both of those lists. So what's the smallest number that you see in both lists? 12. See how there's a 12 in both of them? That means that 12 is the least common multiple of 3 and 4. It's the smallest number that both 3 and 4 go into. Questions so far? All right, so that is how you learn in grade school to find the least common multiple of some numbers. But let's look down here at example 1. Do you want to list all the multiples of 16 and all the multiples of 24? No, because those are really big numbers, right? So I'm going to actually show you how to do it using the factor trees, kind of similar to what we did with GCF. So go ahead and write a 16 way up at the top here and a 24 at the top here. And we need to make our factor trees. So what are we going to break that 16 into? 4 and 4. I love it. 4 and 4. And what do we break each of those 4s into? Just tell me. 2 and 2. No, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, and we'll circle all of those. Who can raise their hand and help me break 24 down? What can the 24 break into? 12 and 2. I like it. I'm going to circle that 2 because I know that's prime. Writing this down. And what can I break the 12 into? I like it. 2 and 6. Circle the 2. Just go ahead and tell me what's the 6 breaking into. 2 and 3. Yep. And circle those. Guess what the next step is? Stack them. Very good. Exactly like GCF. Let's go ahead and stack them. So I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 this time. Nope, not garbage. Don't work too far ahead of me. Go ahead and circle what they have in common. So do you see how they have a 2 in common? They have another 2 in common. And they have another 2 in common, right? So did you guys circle 3 2's? So let's go ahead and write 2 times 2 times 2. And then cross those off. Because we circled 3 sets of 2's. So we have to multiply 2 times 2 times 2. That is exactly like when we did GCF. Do you guys agree? Here's the kicker. With least common multiple, we want the least amount of garbage. So guess what we do with our leftover numbers? We multiply them. We actually recycle those numbers. So least common multiple, you want the least amount of garbage. So we need to recycle our leftovers. So do you see how I have a 2 and a 3 left over? We're going to do times 2 and times 3. And now let's go ahead and multiply. Just go ahead and tell me, what's 2 times 2? Times 2? Times 2? Times 3. 48, very good. So my least common multiple is 48. All right, so our last example for today, let's go ahead and write 20 and 25 way up at the top. And let's start doing our factor trees. Just go ahead and tell me, what are you breaking the 20 down into? I like it. 5 and 4. Very good. Or 4 and 5, you could say. Nice job, bud. Go ahead and break your 4 down into a 2 and a 2. And then circle that 5. And then you can also tell me, what did you break the 25 into? 5 and 5. Very good. And what did you break the 5 into? Nothing. So go ahead and circle it. Go ahead and do the next step for me. Very good. We got to stack them. So we have 2 times 2 times 5. And then we also have 5 times 5. Circle what they have in common. They have one thing in common. What do they have in common? A 5. So go ahead and circle that set of 5s. And I want you to write the 5 and then cross it off because we circled a set of 5s, so we're going to write a 5 one time. Now, we want least common multiple, so we want the least amount of garbage. So what do I do with my leftovers? We multiply them. We have to recycle our leftovers, okay? Because it's least common multiple, we want the least amount of garbage, so we're going to recycle those leftover numbers. So we're going to write times 2, times 2, times 5. What's 5 times 2? 10. What's 2 times 5? What's 10 times 10? 100. So your least common multiple here would be 100. So you'll notice with LCM, our numbers are getting much larger, right? GCF factors are smaller numbers. Multiples are going to become larger numbers.